Looking at the past isn't a bad thing. Looking at the past is valuable on a lot of levels. It is not valuable anymore if it continues to prolong the suffering or continues to activate grief or pain as she experienced in this session with her ancestors. She had been holding on to that grief from her ancestors for so long that once she finally released it, she realized it was not hers to begin with. That is something that is very important for you to understand, to be sovereign in your own energy, to understand your own energy, and to be in a place of being able to identify what is yours and what isn't. Welcome to the Akashic Recordings. My name is Annette DeLu. I'm an Akashic conduit, channel, and spiritual guidance coach. What you will be hearing today is a real session with one of my clients. All the names have been changed for privacy, and of course, with their permission, we are privileged to hear these beautiful stories to allow us a small glimpse into the Akashic Records. If you would like to book a session with me and be part of the podcast, please feel free to head to my website at infinitesoullove.com. When you book your session, just make sure to check the box that you would be interested in having your session utilized for the podcast. For those of you who really wanted to sign up for Soul Discovery Workshop, I have great news for you. You can head to my website, and on the homepage, if you go to the little box that describes Soul Discovery Workshop, there is a button there that says sign up for the wait list. So if you want to be in the know and want to be the very first one to sign up for the next session of Soul Discovery Workshop online, feel free to head to my website at infinitesoullove.com. Go to that homepage, click sign up for the wait list, and send your email, phone number, as well as your first and last name. And I will make sure you get that registration email as soon as the next course is ready to launch. In addition, you will get a discount code for the early bird sign up. So if you are interested, head over there now. Angelica is a highly sensitive person, and she wanted to know if I could connect to her Akashic records to give her a bit of an indication as to how she can handle the energy that she experiences when she's around other people. And what we uncovered was that it was directly tied to her soul purpose. Her soul purpose is to connect all the way down into the core of the earth and balance the energies from that point all the way to the edges of the atmosphere of this planet. The energies that she encounters with people ends up somewhat interfering with her soul purpose job, if you will. So we go into some exercises as to how she can clear her energy, as well as I give her some different techniques in order to protect her energy. We also talk about one of her past lives where she died unexpectedly. And by unexpectedly, I mean that it was not in her soul plan. And lastly, we dove into her ancestral line, clearing any grief that wasn't hers, any grief that was being carried by her ancestors, how to move through the pain of the ancestral line that you incarnated in. In the discussion, I talk about why communicating with your soul is important, as well as the physical and energetic imprints of a previous death that was unexpected. Also, I discuss the nuance between when it's time to visit the past and when it's time to let it go. So tell me, what would you like to cover today?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm really nervous because I've not done this before.
Okay.
And I made some notes and I don't know what order to go in, so I'm just going to start at the top, I guess.
Perfect. So just to let you know, the guides are never going to tell you something that you are not ready to hear.
Yep.
And also they will guide me as to where we need to go first. So you can kind of just unload all the questions on me and then basically they're going to tell me where to go.
Okay.
All right.
And I guess the question is, how much do you need backstory on anything or just kind of the questions?
It depends on what it is, but you can just ask the questions. And if I do need backstory, I can ask.
Okay. I would say in general, this has been a lifelong thing where I am very sensitive. Like I would consider myself an HSP.
Yep.
And I've always sort of felt a lot of energies, good and bad and different. And I have sort of in my life felt unsafe as like a foundational thing from like early childhood through, I guess, until just recently, actually, sort of like living in a level of sort of fight or flight. So there's a part of me that's always wondered, is it related to like my upbringing? My father was a government employee and we lived around the world and moved a lot. And so I was always the new kid on the block, the slightly different one, only, I mean, partly because of temperament, partly because of my upbringing. And is that where my sense of safety or lack of safety comes from? Is it from this lifetime or is it from previous lifetimes? So that's one of my questions. Sort of related to that are two things. Both of my parents experienced trauma in their lifetimes. They were both, my father was in the Second World War and my mother was in Paris during the occupation in the Second World War. And so I've always wondered, again, with that feeling of safety, does that like factor in? Is there any sort of generational or intergenerational trauma that I am working through that's like not my own? And I ask that because in how I feel energy, I absorb other people. Like people can come into a room and they can be in a bad mood, and all of a sudden I'm in a bad mood.
Yeah.
And it's really hard for me to differentiate like what's my energy from someone else's. Like I've gotten better and I've done some energy hygiene and I'm slowly learning to protect, but I have an entire lifetime of taking on other people, so to speak, and really not realizing that it's not me. So I have some questions around that. I feel I've been going through an awakening recently, and it may have been longer than I realized. My mother died last November, and there's a series of events that happened around her death in how I felt her body as she was dying. She had some broken bones and pneumonia, and I could feel it, and I thought I was going to die when she died.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And like I had a feeling of like, and this is all during my sleep. And one night, like a lightning bolt coming in through the top of my head and shooting out through my feet that woke me up, which I thought was her soul leaving her body, but she actually didn't die that day. So I'm like, I don't know what that was. And so I'm like trying to understand where I'm at now, because that was definitely like sort of the last catalyst for like, okay, how I've been living my life has not been working. I've been in corporate America. I've now been studying more heart-centered work and been certified in Reiki and an end-of-life doula. And so I'm like, all of a sudden it's a 180 from how I've been and it feels aligned. I think I'm trying to understand like kind of where I'm at and what's going on because I feel a little untethered. And so this is all new to me and I'd love to know more about that.
Okay.
I have tied into the feeling of safety. I had a recurring childhood dream where it was Victorian era, very Jack the Ripper time. Like this is how it always felt, being chased down an alley, stabbed in the back, die. And then I'd wake up because of this stabbing pain in my back and like it would just wake me up. And so like I had that dream until I was 12, where I finally in my dream turned around and faced the assailant and said, "You can't hurt me anymore." And then I haven't had the dream anymore. But I still have like an energy spot in my back that if you hit it, I get the same sensation. And I've actually wondered because it was so vivid and so real, and I have that physical thing. I'm like, is that a dream or a previous life? So I'm just really curious about that one. I actually am so glad I get to ask you that question because that's been on my mind forever.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah, especially if it's been since your childhood. Sure.
Yeah, and that's like, and it was like recurring, like, yeah, and I was so glad when I realized I could step into my dream and like change the outcome of my dream. And I've been able to do that in other dreams since, but that was the first one where I was like, this isn't working for me anymore. I need to change that. I'd love to know my soul purpose and my life purpose. I have a list of people that I'd love to know more about if we have our soul family or have some sort of soul connection. They're just some key people in my life. And so I'm curious about that so I can give you their names. One other question, this is a strange one. When I was 15, I found out that my mother had a firstborn child who died about a month after birth. And in that conversation at that time, she had told me if he had survived, I wouldn't be here because they only wanted 2 kids, and that it was just an odd conversation. I think that's always stuck with me. And I think from listening to your podcast and hearing that as souls, we choose our parents. And so I'm wondering if all of that transpired for a specific reason for me to be in my mother's life or my father's life specifically. And especially since my mother and I didn't always have the easiest relationship. I have been curious about whether we were together to teach each other some lessons or to learn from each other somehow. And then the last one is, well, I guess there's two more. One, is there a specific reason why I incarnated in this time? So like, what is there a reason why I chose to incarnate with my family and in this specific time? And then the last one is, I've had a couple of people tell me that I have gifts. One was a medium, the others have not. And so I'm just really curious about that and what that might look like for me.
Well, just to answer that question, every single person on this planet has gifts.
Okay.
It's whether or not you can access them. And it sounds like you've already started to access them. So no worries there. Great. Okay. You haven't had an Akashic Record session before at all, correct?
No, never. My first exposure to Akashic Records was finding your podcast.
Oh, great.
Which I may have been searching for spiritual awakening, and yours came through and I listened to one. I was like, I was hooked. So I've been listening. So.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad. First of all, what we're going to do is we're going to start off with a brief meditation. Then we are going to go into a chakra scan. So when I scan the chakras, I'm looking for old energy, and old energy usually shows up to me as black. So if I see black in your chakra, that means there's something from a past life that's still lingering in your energy field.
Okay.
I like to tell people that initially because like if I say, oh, I'm seeing black in your chakra, some people are like, oh no, and it's like, no, that's just my visual cue from my guides telling me that it's old and that it's not from this life.
Okay.
So we'll do a chakra scan. We'll see where your chakras are and if there's anything that we need to address that we haven't asked. And then we will dive into the records.
Okay.
Since you've listened to the podcast, you have an idea of how the cadence works. Mm-hmm. So basically, I do channel a lot and I will be asking questions of my guides.
Okay.
Amazing. They're showing me your root chakra and it's like you're peeling back layers. This is all layers of the past, like layers of past lives, layers of previous experiences in this lifetime. And you have been peeling back the layers. They're saying for the last, 6 or so years, where you're peeling back each layer of energy that does not serve you anymore. So your root chakra has to do with your safety. It has to do with your security. It has to do with how you feel at home in your body, in your soul, where you are physically, all of those things. The way that they're showing it to me, though, is that if you can imagine there are like 20 layers of something, say like 20 sheets of paper, and you curl back the top sheet of paper, but you don't peel it off entirely. Mm. You curl it back and then you get to the second one and you curl that one back and so on and so forth. And so you're curling back each little piece of paper, each little layer, but you're not removing it entirely. So it's almost as if you have been experiencing all of these different layers of feeling not safe almost simultaneously, as opposed to a lot of times people will sort of rip off the Band-Aid and just get rid of one and then get rid of the next and the next and the next.
Yeah.
Until they get down to the core of what it is. And that's not what you have been doing. Can I ask Angels why it is she's doing it in this way? She's doing it in this way only because this is the way in which it is presenting itself to her. So if she were to do it in a more intentional way, they would be able to come off in the layers as opposed to having to expose herself to all of it all at once in various different layers. Okay. Meaning intentional work regarding releasing some of these things. Yes. Okay. All right. And they're showing me that we're going to be releasing some of these today in the session. So we'll be getting rid of at least 3 of these layers.
Okay.
So the load won't be so heavy.
Okay. Yeah, that resonates with how I've been feeling. So I've been feeling for the last 5 years, it's been harder and harder to kind of keep going. And all of these things have been coming up in bits and pieces. So your description resonates so completely with how I've been feeling since about 2018, 2019, where I feel like there was a fundamental shift in me, not that I could explain, but I was like, I've been saying like, yeah, things haven't been the same since that time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and they're saying to me that that is having to do with the shift in energy on the planet. Around 2018, 2019, there was just another big shift. We just went through another giant shift on the planet just recently in the last couple of months. We're just sort of at the tail end of it now. We do go through these from time to time. Prior to 2018, 2019, there was one in 2015, and then one in 2012. These little cycles of big shifts or big upgrades that the planet gets affect us all. And then what it does is it forces us to get rid of all the things that are holding us back from leveling up with Earth.
Yeah.
It's kind of like we're all on this ride together and we got to do the work we have to do in order to shed those things that are not serving us anymore for the new energies. That's not a surprise. The challenge that you were having is that instead of the one layer at a time, you were experiencing many different layers at once. And that's pretty tough. That's a tough energy to deal with.
Okay. It sounds like I'll be getting help during this to shed some layers. Will I be getting guidance somehow on how to maybe more efficiently peel the onion, as it were, as opposed to...
Yes.
Okay.
They're going to give us some ideas. I'm getting sort of a little nudge that it does have a little bit to do with who you are as a soul as well. So once we get into your soul purpose, it might help us to understand why you're doing things this way.
Okay.
And then you can sort of work with your soul in a way rather than, just allowing your soul to just do whatever it wants to do. Our souls do whatever it's going to do because that's our soul job. If we're able to communicate with our soul and say, hey, this is too much, we need to take a step back.
Right.
We do have to communicate in that way sometimes because often people say, well, your soul should know that you're not doing well. And I'm like, well, yes, but our soul also isn't necessarily feeling every single thing we're feeling in our body.
Yeah.
Like we have to communicate the physical aspects of what we're experiencing.
Yeah. And what comes to mind that's just so funny is I've been told by others that I have a great capacity for pain, like a high threshold pain tolerance. And so, yeah, I think maybe my bar is such that I'm like, yeah, this is really uncomfortable, but I also I feel like I need to be going through all of this now. So as the work I've been doing and it's like all this stuff bubbles up, I feel like it's had a lifetime of being repressed. So I'm like, I'm kind of in that space of it feels okay to bring it on. But yeah, I'm open to how to do it in a more efficient way or healthier way.
Sure. Okay, great. All right. So then let's take a look at your sacral chakra. Okay. So your divine feminine, your creative energy is 100% on point. You are creativity personified. You just have this really beautiful ability to see the beauty and creativity in everything. They're showing it to me almost like, when you see depictions of what it looks like to be on LSD or, so those kinds of things. They're saying to me that this is how you see the world, just normally. You don't need any drugs. It's just, this is how you see the world on a regular basis.
Yeah, that resonates completely.
Uh-huh.
Probably why it don't work.
Well, actually, yeah. So that is actually something that happens. So I have had clients in the past who have tried MDMA and mushrooms and all kinds of other psychedelics. And when you reach a certain elevation in your frequency, they don't actually work anymore. And so I've had clients who have said that I've taken a whole crap ton of mushrooms and nothing happened. I'm like, yeah, that's because you're already at the limit of where you are energetically and the drugs can't do anything more for you. Right.
Yeah.
So that's just a little side note. But yeah, so it makes sense that that would be the case for you.
Yeah. It's one of those things that I can't do. It just feels like it whacks me out. And I'm like, my regular life is just fine.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm I don't need to mess with this. I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah. What's interesting though, is that with all of this beautiful creative energy and the root chakra being what it is, that does create an energy of instability. The feeling of floating and not being able to really ground anywhere.
Yeah.
The feeling of why can't I get anything to land? I can manifest all kinds of things, but for some reason it doesn't stick. Things are very fleeting. Things are very temporary. And it has everything to do with what's going on in your root chakra and the fact that this all needs to be cleared. Once the root chakra is more stable, then all of this beautiful creative energy you have going on is just going to start landing in spades. It's going to be amazing.
Got it. Okay. That resonates as well, where I feel I'm a bit ping-pongy and that grounding sensation. Mm-hmm. It's been really hard. I used to feel like I could ground better. And especially in the last couple of weeks to months, grounding's been harder. And I was like, why am I so flighty?
Oh, yeah. The energies the last 2 months have been insane. Insane.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's everybody I know has been just what is happening? You know?
Okay.
I've had a lot of physical sensations. I've had a lot of purging, a lot of, leveling up, a lot of downloads, a lot of all kinds of things. And many others that I work with have also. So yeah, the last 2 months, that's not just you.
Okay. I'm so new at this. I'm just like, I'm trying to take things at face value and kind of roll with it. But I'm just not the person I was a couple months ago, not the person I was 6 months ago. Like it just feels like evolving in some way on a weekly, monthly basis or something.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. Okay, so your solar plexus chakra looks good. Your self-empowerment is spot on and it's exactly where it needs to be, but you second guess it sometimes where you're like, yes, this is who I am. And then you're like, oh, maybe I should tone it down a bit. Oh, okay, maybe that's a little bit too much for that person. Oh, okay, I'm good with me, but maybe others are not so good with all of this energy. So maybe I'm going to dial it back a little bit. So like there's a lot of back and forth of that going on.
Yeah. I think that's where, and maybe that's where my feeling of being a fish out of water comes from. Like I've always said that I'm happiest behind the scenes. Like I'll do costumes and makeup for theater, but I don't want to be on stage. And I had someone say to me once, like, are you sure about that? And I think that's kind of a personal comfort thing where I'm like, I wasn't raised to shine brightly. I was raised to be seen and not heard. And so I'm like, I think, and I do sometimes feel like, yeah, this is me. And I'm like, I love the me, but then I'm really scared to show it because I'm so afraid of not being accepted as that. And I think that's probably a lot of my life where I've always just felt like a fish out of water and different because of my experience living in other countries before moving to the United States, and being in a small town where people are born and die in the same small town.
Yeah.
So like, I'm going to keep trying to fit in because I'm new. Every 2 years, I'm new to somebody and I have to fit in. So like, you can't be different and fit in. So like, I don't know if it ties into that or not, but the second guessing is spot on for me. Like I have no trust in self, I would say.
The interesting thing is that you do have trust in self,
Okay.
but only within yourself, if that makes sense. So it's like when you're by yourself, you're like, I'm good.
Totally.
But then the second you get around other people, that's when you start second guessing.
Yeah, 100%.
A lot of this has to do with the energies, in fact, as opposed to the people. Your energy is at a frequency that is so different from many people around you that you get around their energy and it just feels weird and awkward because you're just in a different place than they are. That's all. And it's hard to fake being in a different place, and energy doesn't lie. So you can't fake the energy. You're trying to fit yourself into like a too tight bunny costume. And like it's just not fitting, and you're trying to be like all the rest of the rabbits, and the rabbits are all looking at you like, you're not a rabbit. Why are you trying to put that on? That doesn't fit you. Why are you doing that?
Okay.
That's kind of what's happening. And so the best way to overcome that, and I'm not saying that this has anything to do with any past lives, it's mostly dealing with what's going on in this lifetime. So the best way to get over that is to start little by little. Like, how can you embrace who you really are in front of other people little by little? The HSP situation makes that harder. You are going to be connecting to all kinds of energies, and then sometimes it's hard for you to identify what is your energy and what isn't.
Yeah.
That kind of adds an extra layer of complication to it, but we will get there. We'll help you to sort of differentiate and separate yourself from that so you can feel authentic in your own energy around other people.
I would love that because I thought it was coming from a codependent relationship with my mom where I've always been a people pleaser and I felt I had to show up a certain way to keep others happy. It absolutely resonates because I do a dance where I assess the situation and it's not about the people, it is about the energy in the room and realizing whether or not it's safe to take off a mask.
Totally.
So like recently, I feel like I've been wearing a mask for as long as I can remember, like I think since the age of 2, which was like, I need to show up a certain way. And so I'm trying to, slowly, like at a drop at a time, let the mask come down. But I think that feeling of like, I won't be accepted, I'm not the same. Will I lose all the people in my life if I do this?
Mm.
Because I'm happiest alone. Like I'm in therapy and I'm like, I'm perfectly happy alone. Like I am happy as a lark. And she's like, well, you really can't step away from society that much. So
Yeah, I totally feel you in that, because sometimes connecting to your inner being and connecting to your guides and then basically living in your spiritual life and being okay on your own is one thing. But yeah, it's interesting because when we do this work, we can be totally okay and in fact thriving on our own. And the second you throw us in a pit of all these random energies and people, that's when the tests really start of whether or not we've integrated.
yeah.
And people are great for that aspect alone of triggering those things in ourselves where we're like, have we worked on this yet? Yep, but it's still there. Okay, cool. I need to work on it some more. Then in addition to the support, obviously, and the love that we get from our loved ones is instrumental, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, your crown chakra looks good. It's pretty open. You do close it from time to time, which is fine when the energies could get too intense. Yeah, that's good. Okay. You're having a hard time differentiating between what you're seeing in your intuition versus what is real life versus what is in your dream state. There's a lot of stuff going on and like not a lot of clarity for you.
Yeah.
They're also saying the soul purpose will clarify some of this as well.
Yeah, I feel like I have an antenna that I don't know how to tune out static. I joked with someone, it's like the intro to the MTV music thing where it's like all these flashing, I can't make heads or tails of things. Yeah, no, you're 100%. I'm in a very scattered place that way. And I'd love some clarity because it makes me, yeah.
Well, it is to a certain extent tied to your root chakra. What we see through our third eye is directly affected by how elevated we are in our energy. If you can imagine someone who, let's say, has a spontaneous awakening, which they do happen, and they are not for the faint of heart, they are very difficult to go through. I've had a few clients who have gone through them where they have not done a lot of the shadow work. They have not done a lot of the energy clearing that they've needed to do, whether it's ancestral or past life or anything else. They just hadn't done a lot of that. And bam, their third eye is open and they are seeing everything. They're seeing all the energies. They're seeing everything. And when you open up like that and you're still in shadow energies, you're going to see shadow energies. You're going to see the not so great things of the energetic world. Okay.
Right.
What's happening for you is because you are clearing these sort of in layers, when your third eye opens, you're seeing a combination of some of the higher energies and some of the lower energies. And you don't really know where to put them. You're just like, okay, well, I see what's going on with that person over there. I can see and feel their energy. And then I see what's going on over there. And it's okay, I don't know what to do with that. And so it's like this processing of everything that you come into contact with and not really knowing where to put it or how to handle it because the type of energy that you're in at the moment is kind of split between the two.
Okay.
The more clearing we do in the root chakra and the heart chakra, the more you're going to be able to like sort of rise above some of those shadow energies and then it'll start to get a little clearer. So they're showing me the analogy of like almost like a plane going through a bunch of clouds. And eventually you're going to be able to rise above the clouds and be like, okay, now I can see. All right, cool. This is just this particular period of time in your life where you're going through this like scattered energy and this confusion energy because of this.
Okay.
I'm hearing the words, I don't know what to say. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, you don't know how to describe what you're experiencing. And that doesn't have to do with a past life. I'm seeing your throat chakra is quite clear for the moment, but your lack of voice has to do with not only your upbringing that you mentioned, but also the fact that you can't really describe what it is you're experiencing. And it makes it very difficult to articulate because you wish you could be able to, I have often felt this myself. You wish you could like transfer what is in your brain to somebody else so they could interpret it for you. But it's like you have to put it into words and that sucks because it's not easy to do. Not to worry. We're going to sort you out in this way. Okay.
Okay. That sounds great.
Cool. I would like to thank Akula, my Akashic guide. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to Archangel Metatron and Archangel Sandalphon for guiding us through the records today. Today we are opening up the Akashic Records. Where do we need to go first? The past life. Okay. So that was a past life she was experiencing. Yes. Okay. So the dream that you had with the stabbing, that was in fact a past life.
Oh, okay.
Why was it necessary for her to see that in her dream state? Because the energy needed to be cleared. It is how she has gotten through some of the fear energy that she has. The feelings of not being safe is something she carried into this lifetime from that previous lifetime. Okay. So was it the lifetime just before this one? It was. Okay. She did take great care in waiting to incarnate again because she wanted to make sure that she had the best chance to clear this fear and worry. And this was a particular period of time where the energies would be supportive of her being able to clear this energy. Okay. Right. Because they're showing me like back then, like had you incarnated like shortly after that death, you wouldn't be in a time period where this kind of work was commonplace. You know, it would have been much harder for you to clear that energy from that lifetime. And they're saying to me that that particular death was not something you were meant to experience. There are many times where we have a traumatic death that maybe we have signed up for because of a certain reason, but there are also those moments where something just happens, wrong place, wrong time. And that was one of these situations.
Got it.
Okay, so can we take a look at what happened there so she can have some more context? It is not necessary to see what happened. She already knows what happened. But what is important is to help her to understand who she was beforehand. Okay. You were quite happy in this previous life. I'm seeing you're cooking. I don't know what you're doing, but there's like some sort of dough and you're folding it over something. So maybe making some sort of, I don't know, like a hand pie or maybe like some sort of ravioli or something with something inside. So you're like taking very good care at creating whatever this is for dinner. And it is for your husband that you're doing this. And you loved cooking for him and he loved your cooking. And it was just something that brought you joy. It was the period of time in your day where you just had a lot of peace and you had some time alone, which you really liked. Yeah. Okay. So this is part of the reason why the fear came in so abruptly, because you had never really felt fearful in that life. I'm seeing that life was quite easy. You had a connection with your husband that you were meant to have because you were helping each other grow spiritually and energetically. It was a connection that was rooted in not only soulmate energy, but also an energy that had been cultivated for many, many lifetimes. And this was a particular lifetime where you both had come out of difficult lifetimes. And so this lifetime was supposed to be a sort of easier lifetime for you both. And so this event where you were killed was not something that only affected you, it affected him as well, because he was not meant to experience the grief of losing you, and you were not meant to experience the traumatic death that you did. So I'm seeing there was something about you cooking and not having the ingredients that you needed. And so you were going to pop out to one of the shops to get something that you needed. And it was something that your husband said that he could have done, but you insisted. Okay, so I keep on hearing the words wrong place, wrong time. What had happened here? Like, what was the reason for her getting killed at that time? There was no particular reason why it was her. It had nothing to do with whether or not it was her. It had to do with the fact that she was in a place where she could have witnessed something. And so the person who killed her did so because he was afraid that she had witnessed something. Okay. I'm getting that. Is the spot in your back, is it like right at heart level?
Yeah. Yeah. It's on the inside of my right shoulder blade at my back heart level.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I still have it. And I've been like, is it related to that? Like, is that like an energetic thing that I just have in me now?
It is. Angels, is there a way that we can clear that energetically for her? Yes. Okay. So I'm going to ask for Saint Germain with his violet flame to come through and clear out any of that psychic debris, any of that energy that does not belong. And I'm going to ask for all of guardian angels to clear and cleanse that area so it will release any energy that does not belong any further. She is aware of the lifetime now. She doesn't need the reminder anymore. Okay. So what this created in you was a feeling, and this started in a very, very early age in this lifetime. You had been so connected to the universe and the flow of the universe that you just didn't think that anything like this was possible. You had heard that things like that had been possible, that things had happened to other people, the things that were not meant to happen, but you just didn't think that it would happen to you because you were so connected. And so it was not only the shock of the death, but the shock of the fact that something like this could happen and that you were not protected. Angels, can you tell us why she wasn't protected? Like, why didn't her intuition go off? Her intuition did ping her several times before she walked out the door. She knew that she didn't necessarily need to go out and get this ingredient, whatever it was, but she wanted things to be perfect for this meal for her husband. Against her judgment, did go out. And there were several times along the way as she was walking where she felt unsafe. Okay. And so I have heard of times where angels, you can step in and actually prevent something like that from happening. How come that didn't happen? Yes, we can step in certain circumstances, but because for this particular lifetime, her purpose in that life wasn't to accomplish anything necessarily. It was more of a rest lifetime. There wasn't a big reason for us to step in because she would end up learning from this situation anyway, and so would her husband. We did not see any need to step in because it would serve a purpose in the long run. The times where we do step in, it is because the person still needs to accomplish something very important in that particular lifetime, or the fact that we do step in allows that person to have a grand awakening and prove to others that when you have faith and when you are following the flow of your life and you know your soul purpose and your life purpose, that your life will unfold in the most beautiful of ways. No energy is wasted, and we've spoken about this before. Okay. Yep, that's fair. Okay, so then is there anything we need to know about her husband from that lifetime? No, we do not. He is not somebody who is incarnated with her at this time. Okay. Okay, so do you have any questions about that?
No, that's amazing confirmation that I didn't know if I was nuts or if I was correct on my long-held belief that it was a previous lifetime. So that's great confirmation. And a lot of the traits that I think that you described and I exhibited then, I still have now. But I've been better about listening to my intuition. I've been in similar situations where I've gotten pings and it's like, you don't go near there, you could really be in trouble. And then have found out the day following what had happened in that spot where I stayed away. But I think I've been fighting for whatever reason against my intuition. I don't mean to, I trust my intuition, but there are times where I'm like, well, no, it's all in my head. So I'm not going to listen. I'm like, oh, yeah, so not quite in my head. That's a real thing.
I mean, you're not alone. I do the same thing. And this is our pesky little free will that we have, that I can tell you that I'm sure my angels are always very amused by me because they always tell me something. And most of the time I listen. And there are times when I'm just like, no, I'm going to do it my way.
Right.
And each time that has happened, very interesting things have happened. Just recently, actually, I was recording some videos for TikTok, and I don't do this often, but when I feel guided, I just, I record a whole bunch of them. And I decided to do it on my balcony, and my angels told me not to. And I was like, oh, but come on, it's beautiful. It's a gorgeous day. I'm going to do it on my balcony. And they're like, nope. And I'm like, I'm going to do it anyway. So I did. And not only was it crazy loud because there were children down in the school 11 floors below that were just screaming everywhere. But then on several of my recordings, I received a message from a spirit entity, whatever it was, very clearly on my audio, a man's voice saying, God damn it. And there's nobody around me. Nobody, not a single person. I'm on the 11th floor. Nobody around me speaks English because I live in France.
Right.
So and I caught this person's voice several times on different audios. The message I got from my angels was he was trying to get my attention, but I put up my protection so tightly on my apartment that he wasn't able to get to me. So I was like, okay, yeah, do I need more confirmation? Because this has happened before where they've told me not to do things and I've done them and I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess I just need to listen. So you're not alone.
Okay.
This happens to me too. I just want to let you know that when this happens, just listen. It's easier. It's just easier that way. Just say, okay, I'm just going to listen. And then I have to take that advice too, because I can be stubborn sometimes and I don't take that advice. But yeah, that is something they want you to really focus on in this lifetime, is paying attention to your own intuition.
Okay. I need to, I think, pay attention to the first subtle nudge, as opposed to being like putting that aside and then the nudges get louder and louder.
Yeah.
I certainly hear it once they're like banging the pots and pans. But what I've learned over the last year is like, no, I need to listen when it's a whisper.
Exactly.
Where I'm trying to focus.
You and me both. So that is that lifetime. Also, they want me to tell you that part of the reason why you were accessing those past lives, when we're young, we can still access our past lives. So most children can really still remember who they were. It's just we have a tendency as adults, the collective we, not you and I, but like the collective we, they just sort of, say, oh, that's not real, or oh, that's cute, that's adorable. They kind of explain it away.
Yeah.
And then also a lot of kids don't actually talk about it. They don't actually say anything about it. Yes, you were definitely experiencing that, and you were definitely open, and it was a reminder for you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
The work that you did in the dream state was very powerful, by the way. The fact that you were able to turn around and say, you're not going to hurt me, like that was incredibly powerful work that you were doing to take your power back, which is great. And you did that all on your own.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah. No, I think after having it, I don't even know what crossed my mind. And I've had to do that since. Like I've had other recurring dreams or dreams in recurring places with negative energies where I've had to be like, okay, I'm going to rewrite the script on this location because this location keeps coming to haunt me. And so I just need to change the script on it so that it doesn't scare me anymore.
Right. The next place they're guiding me to go is your soul purpose. They're saying this is really important for you to know.
Okay.
How many lifetimes do we need to look at, please? Oh, before we go there, they're showing me something else. They're showing me your heart chakra, and the fact that that black piece was in your heart chakra, that's gone now. The heartbreak was you not being with your soulmate in that lifetime when you died.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So back to soul purpose. How many lifetimes do we need to look at? Just one. Okay. Let's take a look. This lifetime that I'm seeing, you are sort of squatting near the ground. You are taking a flower or a plant of some sort, and it's almost like you're taking the seeds and throwing them all around you. So like you're taking them and just throwing them up to the wind. And it's something that you're creating. And it's interesting because I am seeing other people look at you and say, like, what is she doing? Okay, so then you're moving to a different plant. You're doing the same thing. You're spreading whatever the seeds are for this flower all over, and you're letting it sort of overlap with the last one that you did. Interesting. Okay. You know that it's going to rain. You can smell it in the air. You know when it's going to just pour. You have this intuition about the weather. You know exactly when things are going to happen. And so like you're doing this prior to the rain because you know that the earth is going to take all of these seeds or whatever it is that you're scattering, and it's going to create something new and in different places and in the places where it needs to go. It's like you're going in the flow of Earth's energy, and you're connecting to the meridians in the Earth's energy. And you're listening to the earth and asking, okay, so what needs to be done here? And so then you're doing the things that you need to do, and then working with the elements as well as the rain and everything else. And you're balancing the energies on the planet. This is why you are so sensitive. That makes sense. Okay. You are so in tune to the rhythm of the earth and how the planet operates that your soul needs to be hypersensitive to the energy so you can know as a soul what you are meant to do and how you can help to balance the energies. Unfortunately, the side effect of that is that because you're hypersensitive, you do connect into other people's energy, which is not fantastic most of the time. Okay. So she's not a grid worker, though. I don't see that as being her thing. No, she's not a grid worker. She is something that you have not seen before. Okay. So can you describe to us a little bit more about what she's doing? Yes. One of the things that your soul is here to do is to take the balance of all of the elements of Earth. Oftentimes with grid workers, they're working with the energy grids inside the Earth as well as on the surface, whereas you are working with the energy of not only the weather and the atmosphere, but also the earth, ground, all the way down into the core. So if you can imagine balancing the energies from the core of the earth all the way to the edge of the outer layers of the atmosphere. And that is what your soul is here to do. It is to make sure that there is balance in all ways. When this imbalance happens, you are guided to do certain things or be in certain places, and your energy will correct those imbalances. Okay, so are you saying that she is somebody who can manipulate like the energies on all of those levels on a soul level without her human self doing anything? Correct. Okay. So when I was seeing her in this past life, when she was actually doing something, was this a metaphor for what her soul was doing? Correct. Okay, got it. All right. But she did in this lifetime plant a lot of things. She worked with her hands. She worked in the garden. And the things that she did do in the 3D, some people found odd because they didn't understand it until they started to see the methods in which she was getting crops to grow or getting flowers to grow where they wouldn't necessarily. Okay. For example, if a farmer had a really stubborn crop one year, you would suggest that they put it elsewhere and it would be in a place that made absolutely zero sense. And some people would do it, some people wouldn't, but the people who did follow your direction actually ended up thriving.
Got it.
They're showing me like a farmer's almanac. Oh, why are you showing that to me? If there was a book that could be written by the type of light worker she is, that would be it. Ah, okay. So how to follow like the moon and the stars, how to plant in the rhythm of the earth. Yes. All right. Okay, that makes sense. Is there a name for the type of light worker that she is? There is. Okay. Can you tell me what it is? Yes, it is a name that is not very common. She is a wielder of energies for the earth. She's a sower of the energies from the core all the way to the surface. And then she's also an elevator of the energies from the surface to the atmosphere. Okay. I'm asking, they're laughing at me because I'm asking them like, can't you give me just some like one word kind of cool name for that? And they're like, not really. Like, you don't need a label for it. Like, she understands what it is. Yeah, cool. All right. Okay. I'm going to pause here. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I think I need to process it a little. I think what's interesting is in this lifetime, I feel very connected to the earth and like I'm in my happiest place, like deep in the woods, you know, or out in the rolling hills. Like I'm very connected, and which is what's so funny when I have a hard time grounding myself, you know, in my energy work. I'm like, why can't I ground? Because I feel like I am an earth person. I think that's really cool, but I do think it explains how I feel very much connected to the earth and the animals of the earth, and even like I feel very connected to worms.
Oh, yeah.
Those that do a lot of heavy lifting without much recognition.
You know what? What's interesting is they're showing me that worms are like the informers of the earth. Like they can tell you a whole lot about what's going on energetically in a place, where they live, how they move, what they feed on, all of those things. Like worms can tell you a whole lot. It's some of the ungroundedness also is because you're having to spend some of your energy working in the atmosphere.
Okay.
They're showing me a visual of you having one hand at the core of the earth and the other hand like at the top of the atmosphere, and your body is horizontal to the earth and you're just kind of floating in between the two. Like that's what's happening right now. And that's just the kind of the work that you've been doing as a soul. That's kind of what you've had to do. And so when you're reaching the upper areas of the atmosphere, like it's hard for you to ground because like it's like stretching your energy as far as you possibly can.
Got it.
I know this sounds really weird, but she controls the weather to a certain extent then, yes? Yes, she does. Okay, interesting.
That explains. I've always been super sensitive to barometric pressure.
Yeah.
And I've tried to express that to people and people look at me like I'm nuts. And I'm like, no, the barometric pressure is changing.
Yeah, because you're super in tune to it. Yeah, 100%. And the thing is that they want me to sort of clarify. It's not that you're controlling the weather. It's that you are shifting the weather so it is more in balance with what it needs to be for the earth. So there are energetic shifts that need to be made in that space where, I don't know, like maybe they're showing me like you know, putting a cold front somewhere because it's needed, you know, because there's a balance that's needed. And you're not the only person that's doing this. There are many other light workers that do this kind of job. Yeah, that's cool.
Do I have any power over global warming? Can I step up my game?
You have, and you will continue to.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Okay. It's almost like you're sitting in the boat with all the other light workers doing this job, and there's a hole in the boat,
Oh,
and you're just trying to bail the water out, and the boat just keeps on sinking, and you're trying to bail the water out. It's almost like the amount of damage that is being done is almost going too fast for the amount that you can correct. But there are more and more of these types of light workers that are incarnating on the planet. So it will get better once these people are able to do as an effective job as they can. Okay. Like they're just showing me children like growing up now
right.
will be able to do this job effectively because there will be more of you there to be able to help correct. They're just saying to me, like, think about how often Mother Nature course corrects. It is possible to have happen. The amount of damage and the speed at which it's happening is the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, and I feel that profoundly. Yeah.
All right. So then now that we know why you are as sensitive as you are, how do we help her to not feel all the energies of all the peoples, of all the peoples that are around her? Interesting. Okay. They're saying like bubbles of protection don't work for you because your energy needs to stay open
Right.
to the energetic space of the earth. So if you were to put yourself in a bubble of protection, it's almost like you'd be shutting off your gifts.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Angel. So what do you suggest to be able to protect herself and actually move through the world without feeling like she is absorbing absolutely everything from everybody?
Or how to rebalance if I
Mm,
like if it's important for me to be open, how do I balance afterwards?
yeah. All right. So the first thing they're showing me is they're showing you standing like with your arms outstretched in a Y above your head. And what I'm seeing is energy moving through your body and then out the other side and being shifted and changed. So it's almost as if your soul and your physical being are the vessels for this change, for the shift. And what's happening when you go towards other people or if other people are in your energy field, it's like there's no discerning whether or not you're shifting Earth's energy or people's energy. So what you are going to need to do is you're going to need to do some visualizations and you're going to need to do some meditations and start building up the sort of filter, if you will. So imagine that you have a giant filter around your entire body. And this filter is filtering through all the earth energies and all of those things that you need to do for your soul job. But then when it comes to a person energy, that you have no reason to affect that energy, then once it hits that filter, it gets denied. Like it basically gets blocked. So it is about you yourself setting the intention of what frequencies that you are going to allow into your energy field. Okay. That's why they're saying it's not about putting up a bubble of protection. So oftentimes that's my go-to is like, just put up the bubble of protection. You're going to be fine, but you need to stay open because of your job. So putting a filter instead of a bubble of protection is going to be the best way to describe that. And whichever way you can visualize that, or whatever way is easiest for you to visualize a filter around your entire energy field, and imagining the energy that is your job, the energy of Earth and the atmosphere of Earth and all of that moving through your body with ease. And then anyone who has energy around you, any incarnate or discarnate beings, either one, do not get to go through your energy field.
Okay.
So the more you practice this, the stronger it will get. And so I would recommend you practice it at home first, and then every so often practice it when you're out and about. Maybe it'll be easier to practice it around people you know, and then start practicing it around people you don't know and see how that helps. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. And I've always joked that my boundary is like a sieve, that everything comes through. But like, I think I can use that same visual, but have parameters of to what the sieve will allow in.
Correct.
And what it will not allow in. So I think that's funny that that's been my visual. Like I've always pictured myself with like a colander on my head, which really has no protection.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like walking around with a colander, like it really doesn't do much to keep stuff out. Maybe that's why it's always been a colander.
Maybe come up with a different visualization of something that would be more filtery. Maybe it is a very tightly knit mesh of some sort, something that is a bit more discerning, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then what does that have to do with her life purpose in this lifetime? They are not connected. Oh, okay. Got it. Okay. And they actually don't want to go into the life purpose just yet, only because they feel like it's more important to connect to the ancestral line.
Okay.
Are we going to be clearing ancestral line traumas? Yes, we are. Okay. What I would like you to do is imagine that you are sitting in a field of grass and flowers, and surrounding you is a circle of trees offering up divine light protection. And imagine in front of you, there's a door that appears. I would like you to get up and walk towards that door and open the door into your sacred space where your Akashic records are held. And this space can look any way you choose. And imagine that to your left, there's a very large space. And we're going to ask for your grandparents on both sides and every ancestor going back 6 generations to join you in this space. I'm seeing on your mom's side, there is a lot of grief of loss. You have a lot of ancestors that have had a lot of loss. And I keep on hearing like you have to be strong. And so there are a lot of women going down the ancestral line who are quote unquote being strong and holding it together and not expressing their grief. And on your father's side, I'm not seeing anything super pertinent on your father's side. The 2 grandparents you were talking about, were those on your mother's side?
Yes.
Yeah. On your father's side, I'm not seeing, is there anything that needs to be cleared on the father's side? Not at this time. We're not showing that to you purposely right now. Okay, cool. All right. So we can let him go. He doesn't have to stick around. I would like to have everyone who is in that sacred space to join in a circle and hold hands, connecting all of the energies. And I would like for all of the ancestors to be able to express and release any feelings of lack of safety, any feelings of grief, of loss, any feelings of having to hold everything together at the expense of your own energy, emotions, and person, at the expense of your own health. And we're going to ask for all of this energy to be transmuted into light, releasing all of these feelings for each one of these ancestors. And then I would like you to imagine that you are standing in the middle of this circle, and you are going to remove any and all energetic cords from your body and energy field that pertain to your ancestral line on your maternal side. You no longer have to carry these cords. It was not your job to clear this ancestral line. That was not one of the things that you incarnated here with your parents for, but it is something that can be done for you so you can release these energies. They're saying to me that your ancestors hoped that you would be able to do this. There was no guarantee that you would have gone in this direction, but they were hoping that this would be able to be cleared. It was almost like a little side quest, if you will. What's interesting is that a lot of the things that have happened throughout the ancestral line, each one of the ancestors I'm seeing, they recognize and understand why they went through the things that they did, because it was all part of their soul purpose or life purpose to be able to experience those things, even if they were traumatic or difficult. And so like, there's not a whole lot of denial here in the releasing of it, because they all have this sort of understanding as to why things needed to happen the way that they did. It's just a matter of being able to release it. How are you in releasing your emotions?
Sorry, I'm crying. I'm just learning to. I've spent a lifetime stuffing them down. And I think in the last year, there's been a lot of purging and deep grief coming out, but like wailing grief.
Yep.
So like even in that visualization, like I started crying because the weight of their grief like just landed on my heart. And I think that's the thing where it's like, without being able to discern what's mine and what's not mine, like I know I probably have my own grief, but what's been coming up for me lately is like, is this mine, or am I excavating more grief that I didn't create in my own lifetime?
Okay, so let's do a little exercise right now. I want you to imagine that as you're standing in the center of this circle, I want you to imagine any and all energetic cords between you and your ancestors to be severed right now. Imagine that you are literally unplugging any cords that are attached to you and your energy field. And I'm going to ask for Archangel Raphael, Kuan Yin, to be here in this space with you for empowerment and healing, to be able to clear any and all energies that do not belong to you. Okay, so do you feel any difference in the energy now?
Yeah, I just feel much more calm and peaceful and a little bit lighter.
Okay, good.
Yeah, no, just a sense of peace.
So now I want you to connect in with that grief right now. And can you connect with any grief at all? And if you can you recognize it as yours?
I can't connect with grief right now.
Okay, perfect.
Wow.
So you know that you were just connecting with your ancestors' grief right there. And that was a really good example of you basically being the sieve and taking on that energy to transmute it. And you didn't need to do that. You could, but you didn't need to do it because we were in this space that we could ask them to clear it themselves. It is allowing them to do it. Okay. And so this is something you can do as well, is make sure that while you're protecting your own energy, understand that you can also hold space for other people to clear their own energy if they're willing to do so.
Okay. Yeah. And I think it's the not absorbing it into me as a way of letting them work through it.
Yeah. One thing you can do, you can work with whoever you want. I like working with Archangel Raphael for healing and Kuan Yin for empowerment, but you can use whoever you want. And whenever you're feeling an emotion, ask your angels, ask anyone you want to work with to clear your energy field, and then feel into the emotion to see if it's yours. Okay.
Okay.
And that's going to be a really good way for you to identify what is really yours and what isn't.
That sounds amazing.
What else can she do in order to clear her energy in case she does absorb more? Forest bathing is something that is really good for her, and she knows that, and that's why she does it often. So being in forests, being in woods, being around trees is something that cleanses her energy quite naturally. And it is because of her connection to earth and to nature and to the elements that creates this beautiful natural cleansing for her. Now, if she's not able to do that, then connecting to any sort of piece of wood is going to be helpful for her. So if she wants to clear her energy with Palo Santo, that's going to be very helpful for her. Oftentimes people will burn Palo Santo in order to clear their energy. She can do that, but she can also just use the wood as a meditation tool to use the energy of the wood to clear her energy.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah.
That 100% rings true for me. Like the woods and trees are my happy place. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's almost like they're showing me is like when your feet are on the ground of the forest floor, it's almost like the energy of the trees is literally just sucking all that energy out of you that is not belonging to you.
Got it.
Yeah. All right. Wonderful. Okay. So there were a few things that we weren't able to get to. We weren't able to get to some of the people and that sort of thing, but we can always get to those in a different session. We did not cover your life purpose, but that is something that they said you can wait on because you're already doing the things that you need to do. You're moving forward with what you're guided to, which is like the Reiki healing. And as you said, you were doing death dueling and that type of thing. They're saying that there will be more pieces and parts that come along with it, but that's something that we can discuss at a later time.
Okay. That's just because I think I'm just trying to be open and feel like where I'm guided to move, kind of exploring that way and hoping that like the puzzle pieces will form a picture at some point.
And they always do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But they're saying your biggest job right now is managing your energy and trying to clear it and trying to work with it and really getting to know what it is you need to do in order to keep your energy field clear. And once you've mastered that, then everything else is just going to fall into place.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to close the Akashic Records. Thank you to Akula, my Akashic guide. Thank you to all of the ancestors for doing the clearing, as well as Archangel Raphael and Kuan Yin. Thank you for joining us in that ancestral clearing. I'm going to close the Akashic Records. The records are closed. The records are closed. The records are closed. Thank you. So I would like you to imagine that you are exiting that beautiful sacred space that you're in, back out into that circle of trees and that field of grass and flowers. And imagine that everything that we just cleared is just being sucked out through the bottoms of your feet, through the earth, and being transmuted as it does when you do your clearing. Beautiful. All right. How do you feel?
I feel good.
Great.
I feel good. And I feel, so it's going to sound strange, I feel informed.
Oh, good.
Which is, I think, I was looking for a lot, which is, this is also new to me. And I've been in my head a lot about it. So it's interesting to talk with someone about it and have some things that I've always felt validated, by you in the process. So no, it's empowering.
Good.
Just empowering. Thank you.
You're welcome. The one last thing that they want me to say to you is that regarding your root chakra and peeling off those layers, Once you start really getting good at the clearing of your own energy and the filtering of your own energy, you're going to start to really be able to see the things that you need to work on versus the things that other people are working on. And once that starts becoming abundantly clear, you're going to be able to peel back those layers pretty quickly. Okay. You've already peeled back a couple of layers. We did the ancestral clearing. We did the clearing of that previous lifetime. And those are all helping with your safety and security. There are a couple of things that we can address next time in your current life regarding safety, but that is something that they just want to have you remind me of next time. Okay. Wonderful.
Thanks so much, Annette.
You're welcome. Talk to you soon.
I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye. I would like to thank Angelica for allowing me to record her session for the podcast. For today's discussion, I have several questions that I want to ask my angels and guides, and I'm going to ask them to channel some information for us regarding these subjects. The first thing I do want to address, though, is the energy clearing and protection for HSPs. Highly sensitive people can be anyone. Anyone who is on this journey, who is going through their spiritual awakening, can be a highly sensitive person. It is something that is unique to you in terms of how you are experiencing the energies, in terms of how you experience other people's energies, and how you need to clear them. As you saw in Angelica's session today, the typical bubble of protection that I usually teach or that I usually do wasn't going to be applicable for her. And so there are times where, depending on what your soul purpose is and depending on what your energy signature is, how far you are in your ascension process, the ability and modalities to clear your energy can differ and change over the course of time. And even within one lifetime, those things can change. I find that I have to clear my energy a lot less now than I used to in the beginning of my journey. But then there are other practices that I've adopted in order to keep my energy clear as well. I would recommend that if you are somebody who feels energies very deeply and connects to them very deeply, I would ask yourself and your intuition, similarly to what I did in Angelica's session, is this energy mine? Is this something that I need to experience? And is this something that I can release and let go? And you can do that process on your own. You don't need somebody else to do it for you. If you are uncertain whether or not the energy is yours, then you can absolutely connect with somebody like myself in order to identify where the energy is coming from. I do suggest, though, that you do try this on your own and see if it makes a difference. Disconnecting from your parents' energy, disconnecting from your spouse's energy, removing those energetic cords, reeling back that energy. And that doesn't mean that you don't love these people. It just means that you are retracting your energy and returning theirs. It can also mean something that has to do with collective energies is having an effect on you. And that is something that you can identify while you're going through this process. Communicating with your soul is one of the most important things that you can do. Connecting to who you are on the other side, what you're doing, why your soul is doing the things that it's doing, and how that affects your physical body. Because oftentimes I find with certain clients who have soul purposes where their soul is super busy on the other side, that has a tendency to exhaust the person's physical body. Or maybe they're having certain ascension symptoms or certain physical symptoms that are based on the fact that their soul is moving to a different energetic frequency. This is something that exploration into the Akashic Records can really help you with. It can help you understand what is going on. And then having a regular conversation with your soul and asking your soul what it's doing. And also telling your soul how you are feeling. If you're feeling exhausted, you can tell your soul, hey, I'm really tired. Can you hang up your work hat for a little while? Maybe a couple of days, maybe a week, however long you need. And you might be able to get some answers from your intuition, from your soul, and you may not, depending on where you are in your journey. This is something that I often focus on during Soul Discovery Workshop as well, which is being able to connect to who you really are, being able to connect to your soul and understand what you are here to do, and check in on a regular basis to be able to understand how you're responding to certain energies, how you're moving through certain energies, what kind of purging you might be doing and why. Because you might be going through a purging phase and you don't even understand why that's happening. And oftentimes we don't need a why. We just need to go through it. However, connecting to your soul and trying to open up that line of communication or establishing that line of communication between you and your soul is going to help you know maybe ahead of time or know a little bit clearer what is going on. It's just like getting to know a friend. When you first meet this friend, you may not know a whole lot, but as you continue to connect to that friend, you're going to know them deeper and more clearly as a human and as a soul. Look at your relationship with your soul like you're getting to know a friend. Maybe a friend that you've never even connected to before, that you might be just connecting to for the first time. If you do try to connect to your soul and you don't hear anything or you don't feel anything, it's okay. There is a time and a place and an energetic frequency for all of what we experience on this journey. But I encourage you not to give up, not to set that down. Continue to try. And if you do get something when you connect to your soul, I would love to hear about it. So definitely put it in the comments in social media, write it in the comments in the YouTube channel, or send me a personal message. So let's get on to the channeling. I want to ask my guardian angels about physical and energetic imprints of previous death that was unexpected, as well as why it feels somewhat arbitrary when angels step in and when they don't, if somebody is going to go through a death that they're not meant to. So I'm going to ask that question and see what they have to say. There is something about being with people as they are on their journeys, not understanding what exactly they're going through in their day to day. Your guardian angels are always here helping and guiding you. However, you can sometimes make decisions, and when you make those decisions, there is a retooling, if you will, of the trajectories of the timelines. So for example, when Angelica decided to go out to the store on that evening, there was a whole timeline that didn't exist before she made that decision. When she made that decision, there is very little time by which angelic intervention can happen. This is why you will get the pings in your intuition that will tell you not to go in a certain direction or situation or approach a certain situation. It is much more effective for you to listen to that intuition than to go into a situation in which we have to intervene on your behalf. It is possible for us to intervene if there is enough time to orchestrate. Now, you might say that there is always time to orchestrate given the fact that time doesn't exist on the other side. And while that is true, there could be multiple timelines that unfold in that 15-minute span between the time that she left her house and went to the shop and encountered the man who killed her. The many timelines could go as follows: that maybe she stumbled and had to right herself, and maybe that gave her enough time to avoid running into that man and potentially seeing the things that he didn't want her to see. There could also be other situations that happened where the man was delayed. All of these orchestrations, though, take time. If she was being very careful about where she was walking, maybe she didn't have that delay. We can intervene and we can save people if it is absolutely necessary for their soul growth, for their soul path, and for the soul path of others, as we mentioned in the session. For this particular situation, it wasn't necessary for us to intervene because she was going to learn from this situation as well as her husband was going to as well. Might I remind you that you are not here on this planet to avoid unpleasantness. And while it might seem to you that letting somebody go through the process of death is something that would be considered awful or cruel, if we as your guardian angels can step in, we will encourage you to look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that you have done this thousands, if not millions of times in every incarnation. Death is a part of the process. It is not something special as you deem it to be here on this planet, meaning that you have experienced it many, many times. It's not a unique situation. We do understand that you feel your death very deeply here on this planet, and you feel the death of your loved ones very deeply on this planet. And we do not mean to diminish that. But from the grand scheme of things, to answer your question, the reason why we wouldn't intervene is because it wasn't necessary in this particular case. There are other cases where it is absolutely necessary, and that happens. As it pertains to a pain that you might have in your body, or an energetic imprint of how you were killed or how you died in a previous lifetime, those echoes are there for a reason. They're there to remind you that it is something that you need to work through in this lifetime, that it is something that has energy that is still lingering within your energetic field. So you may have had a pain your whole life in a particular part of your body and not understand why that happened. There's nothing physically wrong with you, but there's a pain somewhere, or maybe a sensation of some sort. And oftentimes that is the case, that it is something from a past life that you need to clear, that you need to look at. I know this was not something that Annette was planning on giving me in terms of a question, but it lends itself to that question of when is it time to look at your Akashic records, to look at the past? When is it time to look at the past within your own experience, within your current lifetime? And we will always say that it is time to look at the past if the past is still having an effect on your current life. If it is no longer having an effect on your current life, there is no need to look at the past. Annette has experienced this many times while being in the Akashic records, where clients will ask a question and the guides will say, there is no reason to go into that information. And the reason for that is because the person probably has already worked through that energy, or that energy isn't even theirs. It could be somebody else's that is popping into their energy field. They could be picking up something else from somebody else. Looking at the past isn't a bad thing. Looking at the past is valuable on a lot of levels. It is not valuable anymore if it continues to prolong the suffering or continues to activate grief or pain, as she experienced in this session with her ancestors. She had been holding on to that grief from her ancestors for so long that once she finally released it, she realized it was not hers to begin with. That is something that is very important for you to understand, to be sovereign in your own energy, to understand your own energy, and to be in a place of being able to identify what is yours and what isn't. Okay, thank you. Is there anything else you want to share with us about that? No, not at this time. Okay, great. Yeah, thank you for that. So one of the things that I want to close with is just a wrap up of all of the subjects we're talking about here. It's all about the energetic imprint that we have from other people, from ourselves, from our soul, the energetic connection that we have to other people, and how we move through this world in our soul purpose. And untangling that and really getting to know that aspect of your soul can be super valuable to help you move through this life in a much more graceful, peaceful, and happy way. So I do encourage you, whether you get a session with me or with somebody else, it is something that you can really benefit from in order to move through your life with more ease than maybe you are now, to move through your life with more confidence and more knowledge about who you truly are. Thank you so much for joining me this week, and I can't wait to connect with you for next week's episode. If you're enjoying this podcast, it would be really amazing if you could like, share, and subscribe. Wherever you listen to podcasts, whether it's Apple or Spotify, feel free to give it a review if you feel called. If you are following me on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you are notified for every single new episode of the Akashic Recordings. If you feel called to book a session with me, you can always reach me at infinitesoullove.com, and you can book directly on my website. Thank you so much for all of your support, and